There's a liberal woman on TikTok that is going viral because she has deemed herself as the Regina George of liberals. Now, obviously, she is struggling to cope with the massive loss that Democrats faced in the last election. And going forward, she seems to believe that the solution, particularly for liberal women, is to be, wait for it, more mean. Is that even possible? Let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you being here. Do me a couple favors, hit the thumbs up button, become a subscriber to my channel if you're not already, and turn on your notifications so that you never miss out on a conversation like the one we're about to have. So as I said, there is a woman on TikTok who, like most liberals, is loud and proud of being a liberal woman in today's society, which I can't understand, but you do you. But she pretty much spouts all of the same talking points that we hear from the mainstream media, which is essentially all headlines and no substance or proof to back up her beliefs about what's going on in today's political landscape. And like many liberals who are still trying to cope with the devastating loss that they experienced this past November, they are struggling to understand how they lost, and not just lost, they got absolutely decimated in every single state. They just cannot fathom how this happened. And they are, of course, the ones with the media blinders on who live in an echo chamber that gives them a false sense of popularity. And as such, they truly seem to believe in their heart of hearts that they still have the winning ideas for America. So they don't think that they need to change their policies or their priorities or reconsider some of the egregious things that Democrats have become known for supporting in the last few years, like sexualizing children or mutilating minors or killing the unborn or telling men that they can be women. No, they think that the answer is to just put their heads together and come up with more effective strategies than what the heads of the last campaigns did, and that rebranding themselves will be what brings them a win in the future. So this is where this TikToker named Suzanne Lambert came up with the idea that she thinks will be an effective movement for other women in her party to adopt and produce positive results for their cause. She is calling herself the Regina George of liberal women, and her call to these women is to be more mean to others. Not even kidding. So she's become popular on TikTok where she does these Republican makeup tutorials in which she basically mocks how Republican women look and present ourselves while trying to make the connection that how we look is as bad as the policies and the candidates that we support. Now, for those of you who don't know who Regina George is, she is a leading character from a 2014 movie called Mean Girls. And in a minute, I will explain how liberal women using this character as an icon is both hilarious and far more fitting than even they realize. But first, let's get into this news segment where they interviewed Suzanne and dove into the thought process behind her choosing Regina George as this character to emulate for their liberal women's movement.
Not all of us were meant to be Michelle Obama, Jack Schlossberg liberals. Some of us were meant to be Regina George liberals. Y'all did it your way, and we're doing it our way.
Regina George liberals. That was viral TikTok influencer Suzanne Lambert explaining and defending her growing celebrity as a, quote, this is the quote, mean Democrat. Lambert has built a following, you should know, of more than 500,000 on TikTok. Her videos have been viewed millions of times and significantly garnered more than 10 million likes. Here is one of her most popular, where she mocks Republicans who criticize her, and she does it through kind of a makeup tutorial.
Rather than using a brush, we're actually just going to apply directly to the skin and use our hands. That way it's streaky, it doesn't blend well. Now I've got my driest mascara that I'm just going to kind of make sure you get a little on the eyelids too, and don't clean it up, just for the full effect. Let me know how I did.
How'd you do? Well, I don't really fret over that whole eye makeup thing.
Now, before I go any further, I don't think I really need to explain the irony of a liberal woman trying to make fun of how conservative women look. When there's a reason that liberal women have become known as being unhealthy, blue-haired, no-makeup man-haters who repel other human beings with the daggers that they shoot from their eyes and their inability to have a conversation with anybody about their beliefs because all they do is scream. There's a reason that the meme that everyone uses to depict liberal women is the masculine looking woman in a beanie yelling at the sky, because the most effective humor is rooted in truth. And 99.9% of the time, the image is exactly what you get in real life when interacting with liberal women. And honestly, when I first saw Suzanne and didn't know what her content was about, I thought that she was a conservative because she is attractive and, brushes her hair. I automatically clocked her as being on the right. So my brain didn't quite know what to do when she started spouting these feminist talking points because the words didn't match the looks. Kind of like when you see a man dress up as a woman and they open their mouth and you expect a feminine voice to come out, but you hear a man's voice instead. Your brain takes a second to catch up because what you're seeing and hearing don't quite line up. Anyway.
Suzanne Lambert is with us to explain her journey. And one of the things I want to ask you about, first, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for being
having
here.
me.
I read that you in high school were involved in a Republican club. Talk to my audience about the journey from there to now.
Yeah, sure. Not only was I involved, I was the president.
Okay.
In fact, I grew up in a town where that was kind of the norm. It was very conservative, right? That's all that I really knew. Most of influences around me were very conservative, and I remained conservative until after college. I campaigned for Romney in college. I was part of college Republicans, and something happens when you're around people who are different than you, and you meet people with new experiences and new things to say, and that's where my views changed.
Translation is that she was a conservative going into college and then pretty much left as an indoctrinated feminist. It's a tale as old as time.
Rachel McAdams would want all of us to know that Regina George is a cultural touchstone who needs no explanation, but for the few who might, explain. And when you say Regina George liberal, what do you mean? Or Democrat?
So yeah, I love Mean Girls, of course. And Regina George, she has a lot of flaws. She's not a perfect character. Right. We're all flawed, right? But one thing that Regina is really good at, she's good at organizing. She's good at garnering attention. She hits back. She sticks up for herself. And that's something that we haven't seen historically from Democrats, from other liberals. And after the election, all the messaging was around how we're going to get through this with love and peace and kindness. And sure, those things are true, but I was like, I can't do another 4 years.
I'm sorry, did I miss the part after the election where liberal women were trying to understand how they could get through the next 4 years with love, peace, and joy?
I'm sorry. No! Why? Why? Do you really hate me that bad?
Yeah, pretty sure I missed that memo. Again, there's a reason that the memes of liberal women screeching make sense and are funny, because I don't know where the peace and joy came in. Was it peaceful and joyful when we had women shaving their heads and crying and screaming and cutting off family members because the election didn't turn out how they wanted? Was it peaceful and joyful when we had all these videos of liberals telling people in North Carolina that they deserve to have their state destroyed because it's a red state? Or when they were sad that the guy who tried to assassinate Trump missed? This is how you know that these women still live in a state of delusion, because they truly believe that it's time for liberal women to stop being nice and start being mean. And my question is, if that's you guys being nice, oh dear. But it does seem to fall in line with how they operate, because the answer is not to hammer down and stand up for the policies that they believe in and bring facts and evidence to the table to let us know why they disagree with what we stand for, to bring data, to bring statistics, to have an adult conversation. The best that they can do is make fun of how we look. And I know that a lot of times we do make comments about how liberal women look, and the screaming meme is typically what we think of when we think of liberal women. But the thing is, 99% of the time, that's really not what we're focused on. What we truly have an issue with are the egregious policies and beliefs of the left. Women who fight for women's rights, yet think that men can be women, or women who think that the entirety of their freedom is based on the ability to kill the unborn without restrictions. Women who wanted us to vote for the ability to kill the unborn with no restrictions and put that above being able to afford to live, or women who claim to care so much about the safety and welfare of children, yet won't talk about the open borders that has led to the brutal torture, trafficking, and enslavement of women and children in America and all over the world. It's the absolute hypocrisy and the anti-woman beliefs of liberal women that contribute to the ugliness that we see on the outside, which again makes the screaming liberal meme so appropriate, because the screeching accurately represents who they are as people as a whole. For liberal women, when they're trying to flip the script, their talking points are the exact same as they've ever been. They're not even trying to have an adult conversation, and all they have is a high school mean girl approach, which is why the Regina George character does and absolutely should resonate with them.
Pro makeup artist in Washington, D.C. I saw that Republican makeup is trending, and I will tag the original creator that got this idea from. And I followed some of her pointers, and this is what we got. Now, unfortunately, all of my foundation matches. I don't have one that doesn't. And it did physically pain me to put my blush here on the apples of my cheek and do a pink sparkly eye with purple in the crease and the liner all the way around. You know, the only thing I can think of is that under studio lighting, this must look better than it does now. Ooh, yeah, that's something. Listen, if you want to hire me, I know where the studios are, and I can bring my pro kit and recreate this look for you.
Literally, this is all they have. But just for more context, I do want to dive a little bit deeper into this Regina George character and highlight even more so why this is so appropriate and maybe a little funny. I know liberal women like Suzanne Lambert think that she is a genius and that conservative women just don't understand the point that she's making, but I think that we understand even far more than she does. So as I said, Regina George is a character from the 2014 movie Mean Girls, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this movie before, but for those who haven't, this is a brief synopsis. So a girl named Katie, played by Lindsay Lohan, moves with her family from Africa to the US, and after spending her childhood growing up someplace that is vastly different than a typical American environment, she is awkward as she tries to figure out the social norms of an all-American high school experience. The first friends she makes are with a couple of these school outcasts, and as one of them, which is the girl with the black hair, has a personal grudge against the mean girl ringleader, who is Regina George, played by Rachel McAdams, they ask Katie to become friends with the popular girls as well so that they can figure out how to take them down. So Katie agrees, but as she's getting to know the mean girls, she realizes that nobody really likes each other in this popular group, and that the only reason Regina is popular is that, yes, because she's pretty and wealthy, but also because she's ruthless and scary. And the girls who are friends with her are only there because they think that they can benefit from being in her good graces, not because they really like her as a person. So the outcasts and Katie plot and scheme, while the two girls who have been friends with Regina for a long time start to elevate Katie to the top of the group because she's a nicer person, and this kind of turns everybody against Regina. Throughout all of this, it's also discovered that the mean girls have a burn book where they've written all of the worst secrets and insults that they can think of against everyone else in the school, and as part of the initiation into their group, they ask Katie to write something mean in it about somebody else. Then later in the movie, when Regina realizes she's losing her spot as Queen Bee, she writes a disgusting lie about Katie in the burn book and then spreads the hateful rumor all over the school, not because it's true, just for the sake of making Katie look bad. This humiliates Katie, but eventually she realizes that she wasn't happy trying to change to be friends with girls whose entire purpose was just to tear others down. And the other two mean girls who were friends with Regina realize that they don't need this person to feel secure and valuable, and they eventually separate themselves from her. And then at the end, Regina ends up getting hit by a bus, and no one is sad about it because she's truly that awful of a person. However, at the end, Regina recovers from her injuries and realizes that she's tired of trying to run everybody around her through fear and manipulation, and instead, she joins a lacrosse team and becomes friends with the very people that she targeted during her time as the known mean girl. So again, all of this makes this woman, Suzanne Lambert, thinking that being the Regina George of liberal women is amusing, yet completely in line with how liberal women seem to think that they can win for their side. Because like Regina, the only power that they have is being nasty and mean and making fun of people. Like Regina, the common thread with their friends is to make fun of how people look with almost no care about who they are as a person. And it's funny because they all repeatedly tell us how inclusive they are, yet Regina George is the least inclusive person in the movie because she's only friends with people who align with her, who look and walk and act in a way that she approves of. And while all of these liberal women are online thinking that Suzanne is using this character in an ironic way that Republican women are too stupid to understand, it seems like even Suzanne doesn't understand Regina George as a character at all.
The thing about Regina George, whether you love her or hate her, and you better love her, otherwise, why are you here? Is she's involved, okay? The bitch is involved. She got hit by a bus and she didn't just lie down and cry. She joined the lacrosse team, right? She learned how to channel her rage into doing something positive.
No, she joined a team of people that she used to make fun of and joined a cause where she could interact with others on a level playing field as they were interacting with her in the same way. Stop making herself superior to others and using being mean and nasty as the only way to get things done. And she got on the playing field and approached people as peers, regardless of what they look like. And ironically, if liberal women are so inspired by Regina George taking action, why are all of them inspired to use these shallow tactics that dominated Regina's character for most of the movie and made people not like her? Because that's what resonates with women on the left: shallow tactics, name calling, and bullying. Now there are all these liberal women making these Republican makeup videos to do exactly what Suzanne inspired them to do. And they think that conservative women who respond to the Republican makeup videos is losing their mind, when really they're just reacting to an issue that these guys started, because this was not started by women on the right. The women who thought that an effective counter tactic in politics, news, culture, and significant world problems was to make fun of how other women do their makeup seems like the ones who are losing their minds to me. And I did see a couple of videos of conservative women creating their own videos of Democrat makeup, which was basically no makeup, greasy skin, and a more unshowered look. But the whole thing has gotten silly. And ultimately, as conservatives, we don't really care how you look. That's a liberal thing. They care what your skin color is. They have a label for every possible way that you could present yourself or express yourself. And now they're even slapping labels based on how people do their makeup and trying to divide us in that way. It's crazy. Again, this is why the selection of this specific character, someone who is shallow and only concerned with looks, who doesn't tell the truth, even to their friends, and just manipulates people with lies, is a perfect icon for these people. For once, you ladies got it right. Just as a final thought, a lot of you probably know by now, but for those who don't, I have been doing makeup professionally for about 15 years, and I've met tons of women across the political spectrum. Some know how to do their makeup really well, but I would say the majority of women don't know how to do their makeup very well. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. So please don't look in the mirror and start obsessing about whether or not your makeup look or non-makeup look is going to label you with a particular political party, because despite what liberal women are trying to tell you, you are allowed to be yourself. And we accept you and we don't judge. Bullying people based on how they do their makeup is behavior that mature adult women left in high school. But I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Again, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Become a subscriber to my channel if you're not already. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.